Okay, welcome back to another episode of BJCP Beer Reviews with Leo. Uh, so today we're going to be looking at actually one of my homebrew beers, and I don't know, I quite enjoyed it, but it'll be interesting to do one of these videos for um, one, my first homebrew beer that I'm going to be making a video for, and two, this is going to be this is going to be the second specialty type beer, which I need to do an introduction for, and because of the complexity of that, I'm going to actually do that in a separate video. But um, for this video, I'm going to be reviewing my own homebrew based on Gordon Strong's Winter Warmer. And so I'm going to be submitting this hypothetically to a competition where I would be judging it and it's going to be entered into uh, style 30C, which is winter seasonal beer. And because this is a specialty beer, there are additional things I need to declare. So in my entry, I would also declare that this was made with mulled spices, and I would need to declare a base style, which in this case I've chosen, well, I guess Gordon Strong chose an old ale. And so this video is going to be a little bit bigger than others because we're explaining all of these things. Um, so let's just get right into it. So one comment I had from an early viewer is that I should open the bottles and pour on camera, and I don't know why I haven't done that, so I'm going to do that right now. I guess I'll start opening. And then the beer glass I chose for this because it's an old ale base style is a snifter. Hopefully this glass is beer clean, but you never know. I usually like to pour on the side for a bit and then kind of straighten it out as it gets closer. Of course, I'll reserve some because it's a homebrew bottle conditioned beer, and so there's yeast at the bottom, and they can kind of detract from clarity and stuff. In this case, this is a dark style, so it doesn't really play a big sorry role about that. That was because I forgot to pull up the beer score sheet, which of course I'm going to need to look at in order to assess the beer. And so this is the beer score sheet that I go through every other time. So, first thing we look at is aroma. And aroma is scored out of 12 points. So we're going to give it a smell. So it's like uncannily evident in this beer. And I actually kind of enjoyed this. I'm not sure if it should be there or not, but I get a ton of these banana esters. I believe the chemical for that is isoamyl acetate, if you want to look into that. Um, don't know much about that other than I think it's actually the smell they use or the compound they use to make artificial banana. And banana is definitely like the overwhelming character I get with this. And so I was kind of interested in that. And one thing I learned as a home brewer, which I wouldn't know as a judge necessarily, is that cloves actually can contribute a banana-like flavor. I'm not sure why that is, but apparently they share some chemical compounds. So I think partially it was that, and then maybe it was also partially I should check my notes, but I'm pretty sure I used like the pub ale yeast from Imperial, and then I also added a dry like Saftlager, whatever the British ale is, whatever. I think that's what I did. So I think both of those could contribute significant esters, and I didn't have great temperature control for the fermentation. So that if it was at higher temperature, that would also maybe give some of these aromas. Okay, aroma though. As a judge, all I know is getting a lot of banana. Not much in the way of hops. Yeah, maybe it's kind of more like a banana bread because there's a sweet malt aroma going on. So yeah, banana bread, I guess, would be the sort of overwhelming or the on balance aroma you get. And I quite enjoy this. I give this like a 10 on aroma. In terms of appearance, uh, quite dark. I would say essentially opaque. Pretty nice, persisting, kind of beige cream colored head that's, I think I said, persisting, pretty tight bubbles. I'm really happy with how the carbonation in this is. Like I got another beer that I carbonated less, and not sure if I'm enjoying it as much. Anyway, I'm gonna give it a good 3 out of 3 on appearance. Double check. Yeah, 3 out of 3 on appearance. Okay, next up is flavor. Oh, I finally get to try this. So this is out of 20, which I think the whole scoring is out of 50. So this is a pretty significant portion of the score. Um, hmm, yeah, so in comparison with the aroma, you actually get a lot of different flavors, I think, in the taste than you do in the aroma. So the aroma, like I had said, is like this banana bread, but in the flavor, kind of very different. I would definitely pick up on some of the spices that were used for the winter warmer. Um, so as a judge, and in the absence of any other knowledge, I guess one, I'm expected to compare with the declared ingredients, and I would say I'm picking up on mulled spices, even though I don't necessarily know what they are. I would probably guess clove, because I think that does come through as well. Maybe some like orange citrus peel or something. I think I did use that. But then I think a fair bit of the flavors also may be coming from uh, the sugars used. Um, so in this case, I used Lyle's golden syrup, and I also used molasses. And I think both of those contribute to the finished product, even though mostly they're sugars. I think whatever gives them their distinct flavor uh, is separate from the sugars, and so that doesn't get fermented out, and you still perceive that in the end of the beer. Um, okay, so for flavor, and it's supposed to be as appropriate for style for an old ale. Now, old ales are actually a kind of poorly defined style. Um, this is my one sentence summary. It should be a strong, malt balanced British ale with fruity esters, darker in color. Um, I would say, in terms of being on style, this is definitely a pretty good old ale for those metrics. Um, I think you can kind of taste the alcohol. I think this came in at around 8% and digging that. No, actually, I think it was lower. It was like 6%, but um, next time I think I would probably bump the ABV to a higher starting gravity. You need to be pretty careful because of the malts you use to um, not making it like cloyingly sweet or have too high of a finishing gravity if you're going to boost the ABV, because it's kind of a style where that could get away from you. Um, yeah, so okay, let's finish up then. I had to give flavor a rating. I'm going to give it a 14 out of 20. It's like maybe not refined and there's kind of a lot going on, but generally I enjoy everything there. Mouthfeel. Body, carbonation, warmth, creaminess. Not very creamy. Well, actually a little bit creamy with like some carbonation backbone sort of sort of balancing that out. I think the body's fairly fairly medium. It's not heavy like a big imperial stout, but it's also significantly heavier than like a light, I don't know, pilsner or something. Right in the middle, probably in line with like a traditional like pale ale or something in terms of body. Warmth definitely has a bit of a warming effect. You would have more of that if this was um, higher alcohol, which again I think I would do in the future. Um, Stringency, not so astringent, maybe a little bit in the finish. Um, the taste in the end, there's sort of like a lingering, maybe a little bit of a metallic thing going on, and I might attribute that to like a water profile that wasn't quite in tune with what it should have been. Mouthfeel, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. It was like generally pretty on target, but there's some things I didn't like. Overall impression, um, well, I'll say this. This is my last one, and I saved it so that I could do this review. And this actually I had to save this for quite a while because there's a lot of background research I had to do to understand how to do this review right. And pretty sad that it's the last one, but I'm glad I kept it for an extra couple weeks. I've been kind of going through it because I only have like one beer finished at one time usually, which is annoying. Overall impression, yeah. So enjoyable. I get the mulled spices. It's a spiced winter ale. Um, yeah. So generally, I have a good, positive overall impression in terms of how well it matches the style. Um, because old ale is a little bit poorly defined. I think I gave you that one sentence definition. I think this hits the mark on that. So in that sense, I'd say this is like a good old ale, and I think the mulled spices tend to complement that. So I'll give it an 8 out of 10. I think overall it could just be a better beer, but I think in terms of what it's trying to be, it's doing its best, and that's pretty good. Okay. Okay, so let me see. I think I said 10 out of 12 on aroma, 3 out of 3 appearance at 15. Flavor I gave 14, 29 plus 3 for mouthfeel, 32 overall impression, 8, 40. So 40 out of 50. Stylistic accuracy, you can't really say it's a classic example, but it's pretty on point. Definitely not flawless. A little bit of flaw maybe in the water chemistry, I would guess. And then just getting um, the balance of the ingredients right and the carbonation level and stuff. This could definitely be improved in a couple ways, probably. Intangibles, leaning towards wonderful. Okay, so that's the BJCP score sheet review. Um, yeah, maybe I'll just cut it there. And I do encourage you to check out my separate video that I'm going to make next on analyzing specialty beer, both as a judge and then how you should try and submit those things. So again, thanks for watching. Hopefully this gets better. Take care, y'all.